Henry, followed by the flag salute.
I don't think you can start with just one.
Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Lord, as we gather here today to partake in our elected form of government, we joyfully acknowledge and reaffirm that you are God, creator of the heavens and the earth and all therein. Lord, as we gather today, please give our elected leaders, our commissioners, your guidance and wisdom in the decisions before them today. Lord, let all those who come today be respectful of one another. And we thank you, Lord, for the protection you've given us from the violent weather and the blessings that you give us daily, especially the blessing of your Son, Jesus, in whose name I offer this prayer. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm sorry that I was out in the hallway, but I really don't think you can start a meeting with just one person. I think it's been better to come out, say, get in here.
That's why I was speaking as loud as a little bit, so everyone would get in there.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm ready.
Okay, Tina, administrative business.
Okay, I have the, oops. Okay, now we're on. I have the minutes of May 28th.
Okay, have time to review those.
Yes, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes of the 28th.
Okay, I will second that. All those in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Then I have the minutes of May 31st.
I approve the minutes of May 31st as written as well.
Okay, I will second that. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay. Just as an informational item in your packet, I did update and include the unencumbered cash balances through 2018. That's preliminary because we don't have our audited financials back yet. And then also the cash balances. So that's kind of a history by fund for all of you. So.
Is there any way that we can have, whether it be on a quarterly basis or something, to where you would do something similar to this on a current situation so that we can see where each department stands?
Sure. You get that every month.
Right.
The budget reports at payday time at the end of the month and the beginning of the following month.
Yes.
And you had asked me to provide the quarterly financials that we
Yes.
publish.
Mhm.
So, yes, you are getting those. But I just thought this might be helpful for you as you go
Right.
into your budget cycle to kind of have that history.
Appreciate it.
Uh-huh. Let's see. You have an agreement in here that Deidre had submitted for approval. This is for the school screens. She said there is no change from last year. And so that just needs commission approval, and then we need to have two copies signed.
This is for the vision and hearing screening?
Yes.
Yes. Have any issue on that, Diane?
No, not at all. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion then to enter into agreement between Marion County Health Department and Special Ed Co-op for the vision and hearing screenings.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay. So you'll sign both of these pages toward the bottom where it says Commission Chairman.
You want, this is the one that includes third, right?
Yes. I do have one other item that I need to discuss with the board about personnel performance, but that would need to be an executive session. And we can do that later if you'd like to, or we can do it now. It doesn't matter to me. It would just be like a 5-minute.
Okay. Is that for personnel performance?
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and do it now?
Might as well.
Well, I'll make a motion to move into recess and executive session in order to discuss item number 1, personnel matters, non-elected personnel pursuant to KSA 75-4319B in order to discuss performance with commission and Tina Spencer for 5 minutes until 9:15.
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's all right.
What? Can I get this to you? It's just a suit that was used for my own.
I don't get it, so do you?
Yeah, I just put it in here.
It's
Okay,
just
out of
been
executive
served.
session, no action taken.
Okay. Really, we have been starting some preliminary work on the room itself and how to,
Transform it?
yes. And so there's just some information that my staff has gathered about table shapes and sizes and some real preliminary pricing. So I just was gonna give this packet to each of you and you can look it over and maybe we can schedule time to, or you can let us know how you want us to proceed on reconfiguring this room. I think, there's one in here that's a curve, but I don't think you have enough room in here to do a curve and have room for seating also. With measuring, it probably is going to be the easiest to do an L shape along these back two walls, so you don't take up more space than you already are. And you may be able to take a little bit less, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea that everybody is on one side of the table based on these preliminary pictures, because I think your back and Brad's back to the audience is very appropriate, and I don't like that. And it also hinders people from hearing and the whole, so I think we should all be on one side of the table, whether it be even at the ends or however.
Or if we do an L where it's
Yeah.
that, and then,
We might even think about correcting that before we get to November. Maybe sit somebody at an end somewhere.
there's no place for anyone's legs at the end. That would be pretty uncomfortable, but
I'll hold mine up and go down to the end. How come there's no women in that picture?
I wondered the same thing when I saw that.
Okay.
Jack, did you into that too?
You can draw some draw some other features on if you want to.
Can I put earrings on?
Add a dress.
Okay, okay.
Add a
Put
skirt.
some fancy hair on.
Looks like the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, they need sunglasses on,
They
right?
had sunglasses.
Anyway, I don't know that you want to discuss that right now, but it's something for you to at least look at.
Some
And we're gonna
information to
need
look
to
at there.
start making arrangements for actual bids and
Yeah,
decisions on how you want
yeah.
it.
You know, I kind of agree it'd be nice if everyone could be on one side, but whether that's gonna be practical or not,
But I think it's necessary. I mean, we're gonna have to do something to do that.
move a wall. Can't
Maybe
go
all
that way.
speed stand, whatever. Maybe if we got rid of that file
I
cabinet
was
for
just
one
gonna
thing.
say, are the two filing cabinets necessary?
Well, that's,
I mean, in here. I'm sure they're necessary,
they're
but
necessary, wherever they need to be.
And I guess you could do like an open table, but it has like a skirt around the front of it or whatever, so then that way somebody could sit on the end and have an open
Mhm.
leg room, not a closed table for.
Okay.
So actually, you'd have to buy a new table, a new
Right.
desk type.
This
because
table
it's
has got
designed.
to go. Yeah,
Where's it gonna go?
yeah, good luck with that. It's gonna have to be disassembled to get it out of here.
Yeah.
But you know, that's true, you know, even just the regular, those ones that you put up, picnics and stuff like that with a nice skirt and stuff around it, I mean, that's very
You
inexpensive.
just go to Walmart.
well, you know, if you want to do that, we can do
Those plastic
that
unfold.
this month, if you want to do that, if you're ready to get rid of this table.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't have to even be this wide if we're all on one
It
side.
won't- Right, exactly.
Yeah, probably
Whatever
not.
we get will not be able to be this way.
Okay. Looks like we've got some information we
Okay.
can look at.
Yes.
Questions?
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. The only other item I brought up is, want to bring up is that as we're working on this, the road and bridge engineering contract, we also need to nail down the road and bridge supervisor job description so that we don't have any overlap, anything like that, once everything is in place. And so, I know Brad does have a copy of that, we all have copies of that general description, which probably does need some tweaking. But we do need to get that taken care of.
So are you proposing to do that today? I mean,
Well,
such as far as.
you know, we could certainly take a look at it and see if, you know, if there's something that, you know, because, well, for at least the first month, there's probably gonna be overlap. But I mean, going forward, the job description needs to be there. So,
So there, you know, you have a few options, is whether you want to have Bryce and Jesse work with our staff on getting those together and bring it back for your approval, or whether, you know, to where they're involved in it, or whether commission just wants to try to work through it.
I'd kind of like to have them involved in the discussion with us.
I do too, because, I mean,
Well,
they're
if
the
they have
ones
a
that are, they're
preliminary
the ones that are
discussion
doing
and then
it,
bring
doing
it.
the job every day,
Yeah.
and,
That would save commission time and,
Hey, I got time.
yeah.
so my understanding, your preference is to do it in commission meeting with the two.
Yeah, I'd like to hear all of their suggestions and ideas, and rather than just have them huddle somewhere and then come back
Yeah.
to us. Yeah.
Well, we need to probably nail that down in the next week.
Now, that really has nothing to do with actually bringing the engineer on board. I mean, that's
Well, the
just
only
something
thing
that
it
we
has
need
to, yeah, 'cause I didn't mean to interrupt you. The only thing it does that affects it is that, as of right now, nobody in the department reports to the engineer if you bring someone on, because none of the job descriptions say that. So it does affect it in that way.
Right, and Bryce is here, so we could talk to him. a little
Because
bit about
it all
that.
says who they report to
Mhm.
and what their duties are.
About sitting down together with both of them
Right.
and trying to nail that
So you
down.
could do it as a commission work session with them, or,
Mhm.
yeah.
That would be Good.
And when could we do that? What would be the best time? Because we don't know what, since Randy's not here yet, we don't even know what the calendar looks like, but I don't know what's our agenda lining up for next Monday?
Well, it looks a little bit lengthier than today, but. Excuse me, sorry. Oh, it really looks like just really light next Monday too. If you wanted to do it on Monday, we can schedule a work session time during the agenda.
Well, maybe it'd be best, everybody have a little bit of prior time to ponder that. Well, since Bryce is here, we're talking about doing a time to get together with you and Jesse and trying to nail down, as we're working on your contract, we're nailing down the road and bridge supervisor job description.
Okay.
And I think the input from both of you would be very helpful to the commission.
Yeah.
You get that?
Yeah, whatever works for you, man.
So it's possible that we could utilize that space next Monday to do that.
Okay.
Okay? Does that
That's fine.
suffice?
I've got it tentatively in here for 30 minutes. Do you
Yeah.
think it needs to be longer?
Oh,
It might need to.
it might be. We say 30 minutes is a start.
We can look at between now and then.
Right, right.
That should help a lot.
That's, well, I don't know if that's the commission's wish. That's not what I just
Well,
heard.
we, you know, not until your contracts are completed.
Right. Well, hopefully that's.
Well, and we were saying, one of my things that I was saying, Bryce, is I prefer, this is just me, I prefer actually for us all to discuss it, you know?
Yeah, well, I totally understand.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as just looking at the general job description that we have right now for road and bridge supervisor, I mean, we have that.
Right.
That's what's gonna need some tweaking.
Sure.
I mean, that's probably a good master that we're gonna try to follow.
Yep. I'm happy to provide that too.
Okay, yeah, all right, get that trend, so.
And also, I think I already have a copy of that, in fact, I know I do, but if you could get me also a copy of the road and bridge supervisor's job description currently now, I would, so we can. talk
Yeah, we
about
have-
it,
Right, I will-
see where they overlap maybe. or
Yes.
something. So, yeah, if you'll get that to me. I'd
Absolutely. I will get that to the board for sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
You'll all need it, right? If you're going to
Right.
discuss it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so are you saying you're gonna get it to each of us, or are you saying you're gonna wait till we're together to give it to us?
No.
Okay, well, I didn't know what you're saying.
Okay.
You said
You
gave
just
it to the
asked if you
board.
could get it, and I said yes.
Yeah.
So all of you
We
will
can get
have
copies
it.
of
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
I mean, I can give it to you right now. I have it with me. So.
Yep. We'll each have it prior to the
That's
time
right.
we leave today.
well, I just have to clarify that,
Okay.
because it doesn't always work that way, so I just wanted to make sure I understood. Go ahead.
Okay, is that all we have for administrative then?
That is all.
Okay, our next agenda item is at 9:45. So, guess we will
Now,
recess.
does the board want to, you do have the county engineer discussion at the end, but did you, if you wanted to do any initial review of any of that, you know, you could do that, the board could do that if you wanted to before
Okay.
your next agenda item.
We
I mean-
need to do that in executive session.
Yes. If there's,
We could, we've got 20 minutes.
it's up to you whether you want to do that part.
You
and
want to
then
go ahead
just-
with the review?
I'm fine with it either way, yeah. I don't wanna waste the
Okay.
time.
Let's go ahead and do the review then, so I'll move that we recess in the executive session in order to discuss item number 1, personnel matters, non-elected personnel, in order to discuss county engineer contract pursuant to KSA 70-4319B with the commission and Mr. Goebel until let's say, let's start out with 15 minutes then until 9:42. Then we'll resume back in open session.
So that-
I second.
Okay, moved and second, all those in favor?
Sorry.
We went ahead and just printed off all four of the top ones for.
Is this the ghost or something?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. So our next agenda item is at 9:45. I'm not sure if Bud is here yet.
He is.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Brad is asking if the commission needs him to come.
Is it nice and warm?
It would be 10:30 before he would be able to get here, if you wanted, if you need Brad for anything today.
I was hoping to have Brad here. I was gonna ask the commission something. I did send him a text to ask if he's gonna come here, and he said he was. And if not, he would at least be available for a phone call. When I asked the question, if we don't have a problem, if he could be available for a phone call, we could ask if he could be available to a phone call if we need him. That'd be fine. Me.
Okay, so he doesn't need to come.
No, if
No,
it's
he's
something
gonna
to
be
be taken
available.
care of over the phone,
If we need to.
if we need to.
Okay. I think he may have an update for you anyway, so it might be good to just have a phone, just to commit to a phone call for an attorney-client, you know.
Okay.
That'd be fine.
All right, Bud.
Okay, in here to get our 5-year plan, management plan for the Central Kansas Regional Solid Waste Association approved, so it can be sent off to McPherson so she can send it to the KDHE. You guys, I've sent it to Brad and he's approved it. I don't know if you remember him telling you that everything looks good in it and stuff. And you guys should have had solid
Yeah.
hard copy and stuff, so
Yeah.
anyway,
Is there any major changes that you want to highlight?
no, everything, I mean, I went through the old one and the new one. The only thing is upgraded is that our facility is being upgraded.
Right, I noticed that
Transfer
also.
station, yes, and recycling, we added 4 more bins, that was there. The other counties, they made changes too, but I don't keep track of their stuff, you know, I worry more about us than that. But this is you to approve the whole plan,
Yeah.
so not just our individual one.
I noticed that in there, it talks about single stream
Right.
recycling.
Right,
Uh,
yeah, everybody's doing it.
How would that affect the plan if the recycling changed in some way?
It would just have to be updated. If it changes, I would just have to notify them that the plan would have to be updated, and we'd put a change in it, she would, and then send it off to KDHE, and they would approve it, disapprove it, whatever. More than likely, it would be approved if it went to a different way. So, yeah, any changes can be made
Again,
in the 5 years, yeah. So,
okay.
So this is a public hearing. You actually need to see if there are any public comments on this
Okay.
topic before you take an action.
Okay. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing on the 5-year solid waste management plan. Anyone from the public like to address that?
just so everybody knows, it's Harvey County, McPherson County, and Marion County in this district.
So how are the people notified as to the contents of this?
Just, it was advertised in the paper last week that we were
Okay.
having, yes.
The contents of this was in the paper?
No, that there was gonna be a public hearing.
Okay, so the people don't really know what's in this yet, right?
Right.
So I don't know how they can ask the question.
I
How would
could.
they- How would they know?
I got the plan in an email. So
Oh, well,
I would
okay,
imagine
well.
you two both did and the press did.
Okay, but
How about
the
me?
public did. All right.
Are you a candidate or a member of the press? Probably didn't get,
Well, I could be.
well, there you go.
But it's
There
a
you go.
public meeting.
Is that ever
to-
attached to the website, county website?
I'm not sure if that's out there or not. I don't believe it
They,
is.
they didn't,
I wonder if that could be, and just, you know,
Absolutely. We
And
can-
just
we can
state
do
to be out
lots of
there.
things.
yeah.
Sure.
Dave?
If you were interested, you could come ask for it. I mean, you're worried about the
Yeah,
time.
generally
Since
that's
it was
the-
in the paper,
Generally,
public was notified that it was available. It's up to the public to put the effort forward to do it.
Okay.
right, that's generally how it is
That's my
done.
opinion.
You, when you're going to hold a public hearing for this, it's advertised in the paper that a public hearing is going to be held and where the public can get the information.
So that's
to review.
also listed, I didn't read it in the paper, I'm sorry, but, so that is actually stated in there that if more information is needed, contact.
I have not seen the actual legal
No,
notice.
Okay,
just-
I think you could explain that to me, am I right, Eric?
It does not list
No.
a link to the document, it just says there's gonna be a hearing.
Yeah.
That's all, so it doesn't reference any information available if you wish to seek more information.
No, that's not in the ad.
Amy?
I just have a question. So I sent the packet to a friend of mine who used to run the transfer station, Roy Patton. I don't know if you know him out of County Lake. He ran the transfer station in Harvey County for a long time. And he was asking why in the 5-year plan that no mention was about the tire shredding machine.
Because it was on after the plan was approved
Okay.
by the region, and that's gonna have to go in now as a change after it's approved.
And he asked too, because he was under the assumption and why they never did one before at Harvey County was because the maintenance is really expensive on that machine. And then
Right.
also you can't add it to just the normal waste. It has to
Yes,
be
you can.
subsidized out.
Well, it's not added to the normal waste, but it is disposed of as the same as normal waste. It goes by itself. The tire pieces go by itself to the landfill,
Okay.
and I've already checked that out.
Okay.
Yes,
This is all it
yes,
says?
yes.
So the tire pieces do actually go to the landfill?
Yes, they do.
But only after they've been shredded,
After they've been cut,
cut,
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah. There's certain sizes. A car tire is quartered,
Ah.
and then the bigger tires are cut to be the same size as a quartered car tire. That's the size they want. At Butler County, that's where we take our trash.
So in actuality, they're not trying to eliminate the toxicity, they're just trying to eliminate the bulk?
Right, the bulk and the possibility of the flotation,
Okay.
you know, because there's been a problem in the past of full tires floating to the
Sure.
surface and stuff. We have that problem out at our closed landfill. There's tires that show up every now and then on the inspections, you know, so we have to.
Work their way up.
Yes, they do.
Pushing their way up.
But anyway, that's how the tires will be disposed of after they're cut.
Okay.
And then where does C and D go? Does it go to the
It
landfill?
goes the same place. Goes to the, Butler County takes all of our stuff, even our special waste.
Okay, it just
That
has to be weighed separately.
Approved by KDHE, you know, permitted and stuff. Yes,
Okay,
pretty much everything that we get, even the asbestos and stuff, we have special ways of getting rid of that, so,
okay.
yes.
So I have a question, oh, I
Okay.
guess it's just for the audience right now, so I'll wait till the end. I'm sorry.
Any other?
I think the audience is kind of done. Sounds like to me.
Well, I didn't want to cut it short. So I guess my question would be then that, knowing that changes need to be made,
Right?
maybe it would be wiser to make those changes before we approve this? I mean, I can't see
Well,
no point in changing.
This one is going to be approved this way, and then the changes will be made after this one is approved. This plan has to be approved because it's already been approved by the board to send it to KDHE to be approved. And I see what you're saying, but then after that, it goes in and the change is made.
So how difficult would it be to do it in the reverse? What would the process be? What would the process be if we wanted to include that change? I mean, how inconvenient would that be?
I'd have to ask.
Yeah, because this was approved by
Yeah.
the board of the solid waste board.
Right, yeah, the three counties got together, met, and approved this to get it approved by you, so it can be sent to,
And any changes that would be made would just be made to Marion County's portion,
right,
not to the
Not-
entire
not the
contract.
entire one, it would just be under our, and those things happen periodically, you know, as things happen.
And so then how does that change happen? Once you know that there's gonna be a change and you've got to.
Okay, I notify the person that's in charge of contacting KDHE, our secretary, she's the one, and I notify her of a change. She puts it into the plan after she contacts KDHE, and they say, okay, give notification back that that's approved, and
So it's a simple process.
it, go ahead.
KDHE gives a notice back that it's approved?
Yeah.
Or does it have to go back through an approval?
It has to go to them for approval, you know, well, it's not approved, it's put into their plan that they have a copy of this. And then it's pretty much a whoosh thing, you know, you tell them what you've done, and I've already got it in our plan of operation about the tire cutter.
So what you're saying then is this is a fluid plan. I
Right.
mean, we approve a basic 5-year plan.
Right.
And then changes are ongoing.
It comes back to you yearly of what has happened in the prior year, any changes that happen.
Right.
It comes back every year. You guys have to approve what changes have been made to the 5-year plan. But the 5-year plan has to go to KDHE every year. This
So we
is-
kind of approve things after the fact.
So, is there a time schedule for this that it has to be sent off? I mean, are we on a
Yeah,
deadline?
today.
Today is the last day. And what happens if we don't make it?
I've never been down that road, so I can't answer that for you.
Just seems
Yeah,
rather ridiculous to me to approve something that we know. I mean, I understand if a change happens next month,
Mhm.
but if we know that it is not accurate or complete,
Well-
I kind of have a little bit of an issue approving something
It-
that I know
It's accurate as of the time that this was
it's accurate
approved.
as of
But it's
a month
never,
ago.
but it's never complete.
It's never
Basically,
complete.
it's never complete.
This was approved in April by the board.
When's the next time the board meets?
July.
So they only meet quarterly?
Quarterly meetings.
Quarterly meetings. And this meeting was approved, and we had to meet in person, otherwise our meetings are usually phone conferences.
Okay.
But we had to be in person on this meeting to voice our opinion, approve, disapprove. Everybody that was responsible to go in Marion County had an email sent to them about the meeting, and
So of course, if this doesn't happen today, it doesn't affect the other counties or anything, it's just us.
basically, yeah. I mean, I have to have your approval and sent to them, you know, and if it isn't, then,
So I wonder too,
We're
then
not
my
part of
next
the agreement if
question.
we don't approve it today.
right,
You're probably what?
We wouldn't be part of the agreement.
yeah.
So the next, okay, so I guess since,
I mean, I can find out for you and come back, I guess.
so my next question then is, what I've seen for the notification is pretty sparse.
Right.
And since everybody pays into the transfer station, I think they should, I mean, if I would, just like, even if I would have seen that in the paper, didn't mean anything to me the way it was written. So looking at it from the general public's point of view, I don't really think that it's a real fair, accurate description of what.
That's why they elect
is-
representatives to make those
Excuse me,
decisions.
ma'am. Excuse me, I'm talking. I'm saying, I just think that the way it was advertised, because it is a rather deep document, there's a lot involved in it. And since the people do pay into the transfer station, I'm just trying to be fair to the people. And I just think that they should actually know, even if they just want to come get a copy of the document, like we were told earlier, that they could come, even if it was just a notification to where they could come get a copy and see what it is. Maybe not attend the hearing, but at least have the opportunity to see what the 5-year plan consists of. So I do- I do-
When was the notice published? You know?
Last week.
Last week.
Yeah. Yeah, I was told by the board, we were told that you advertise it the week before you're gonna go in
I mean, even though it was
there. Right.
a short window, it's still an opportunity.
I just,
You know, and going forward, I'm not sure, I don't know why we couldn't attach that to the county website. Anybody could look at it anytime they wanted to.
yeah.
I mean, just by looking at it, we can see that every county has changes.
Mhm.
It's a fluid document, so like you said, you're approving it as of a date.
Mhm.
And like any other board I've ever served on, we approve things after the fact, which I'm not sure that's good, but it does. It's just the way it is.
Well, I would say, if in fact we have to approve it today, because, and I don't understand why we always get stuff on the last doggone day. That's another thing that just drives me a little crazy, it's on the last
Well,
day. So you
I-
have no time to think about it, you have no time to do anything, really, I mean, in public. And so,
Okay, I did want to mention, this did come before the commissioners several weeks ago after it was initially approved by the Solid Waste Board. It was in your packets and it was provided to you for your review
Mhm.
several weeks ago. So it wasn't on the last day, but it did provide
for
that.
approval,
It was provided for your review,
For information.
for information, and so you could see what it said and if you had any feedback. And so then he brought it back for a hearing today for the approval. So you did have it. But like, to answer your question, it's very easy to put that on the
Yeah, I
website.
mean,
So in the
just as
future,
a-
we can definitely do
And
that. That's not a
just be
problem.
there permanently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think it would need to be that, and I think we need to start paying a little closer attention to how we publicize in the paper. Because I don't feel like this either was appropriately advertised in the paper. Again, like I said, if I would have seen it in the paper, it would have meant nothing to me.
I can
It
try
didn't
to,
tell me anything.
I did not review the advertisement, so.
And publicize on the website, can you not do that too? I mean,
Yes.
because in that way, everybody in the
Right.
county has to take it upon themselves to go to the website too.
Right, it's easy to do that.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
I would point out that 40% of the people in the county do not have access to it.
Is that 40%,
Well,
do
yeah, I
you
think they
think?
need to do that.
Is that rural, or is that
Just
just,
latest census bureau numbers.
Is that
30, it's
right?
38, I think. is what
actually,
it
that's
is.
pretty pathetic in today's world.
And we have people that do not have internet access also, but, you know, that's
That's what he just
part of
said.
life that we live with.
Eric,
Well,
does that include people served by like libraries or whatever that have internet?
It was an answer to a question on the census form.
Okay.
So it depends on how they answer that they don't do it. Mostly elderly people, mostly low income.
Okay, getting back to the solid waste management 5-year plan.
If you guys wanna hold off on it, I'll re-advertise and
well, I don't want
I mean,
to hold it up for the other counties and not be a part of it. I think
Yeah.
that's where it's, I mean, it's a minute point, really. You know,
I don't think we
pretty
want to.
serious, but I don't want to hold it up. I'm not going to hold it up this time, but I'm going to say, going forward, I want things advertised a whole heck of a lot better than what we're doing. Because I think the people need to be, at least have a fair chance to get information. That's just my belief.
understand.
There's, okay, and I'm not
I know.
saying you, I mean, it's countywide.
Yeah. I was just,
Okay, any other comments while we're still in public hearing?
First, they have to read the paper.
I'm not gonna comment on it.
I mean, I'm talking
No,
about
that-
reality. Ideally, you're absolutely correct. Ideally, the entire public should have all facts. But first, they have to avail themselves
But
of those
Tracy,
facts.
seriously, I'm only covering it from the county point of view. If the county does their job, then the people can do their job. But if the county doesn't put the information out, they can't do theirs. That's my point, is what the county
Okay.
responsibility is. I'm not gonna hand feed the people now.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, if not, I'm gonna approve the solid waste 5-year management plan with Marion Harvey and and McPherson County.
I'm sorry. You made your motion.
I made a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Vote.
And there's nothing to sign, right? It's
Nothing
just
to sign,
approval
it's just,
and-
I just have to send off a copy of it, showing that they approved it,
Okay.
and that's
Okay.
it, so.
Thank you,
Do you
Lynn.
guys have anything else for me? Okay.
Oh, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
How'd you do this weekend on the bin? Was it overflowing?
Don't even want to talk about it.
No comment?
Are you gonna make other bins? I'm just asking a question. Are you planning to make them?
I've never told you, are we gonna make them or not? I was under the assumption that we didn't wanna make them right now until, I just need to know which way you guys want me to go.
I was just asking a
Yeah, I
question.
know.
What's your recommendation?
My recommendation, well, I can't tell you my recommendation. No, we lost recycle again this weekend. We only gained about 400 pounds out of 1,600.
Because people are
Trash.
doing that.
Trash was put into the recycle bins because the white bin was not left out. We're not leaving the white bin out from noon Saturday till 7 o'clock Monday morning because it would fill up within a matter of a couple of hours after the guys left. And
And did I remember, just correct me here if I'm wrong, did I hear you say it would take you a couple hours or a day to make a bin?
this bin was made, it probably took a day and a half, 2 days probably at the most, if I can have one guy working on it constantly.
So, I mean, with all the problems that we have, do you not think maybe it'd be time well spent to make another bin or two? I'm just asking the question. I mean, because if we're
Yes,
losing all that
yes,
on
and-
recycling,
Right.
all the time we're spending picking up trash,
Bins, we've got a good place to take our recycle now, and we have the possibility of making more money in rebates from this place than what we had been making. You know, we don't want to lose the recycling. I don't think we want to lose that yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Opposed- I mean, contrary to what everybody's saying, it's still going strong, you know. I just don't see where we want to lose it, but I could set out 3-4 bins down there, but I think they're gonna fill up just about as fast as you can have them sitting there.
you can kind of gauge that though, Bud. You can kind of gauge that because when you come in on Monday morning, you
Yeah.
can see the overflow.
Right.
Now, when you look at that overflow, does
Yeah.
it look to you like one extra bin? Does it look to you like 5 extra bins? What does it look like?
When we quit leaving the bin out on the weekends, it was looking to at least 3 binfuls was on the ground, around the one that was full. So you would have to have probably 4 bins sitting there.
Do you have materials to build them?
No, I'd have to get material. And it's, like I said, it's
About
under.
$200 or something?
No, it's under, it's between $800 and $1,000 for the material
Yeah,
Oh,
to
okay.
build a bin. And that's not counting the guy's time
right.
on it, you know, I mean, he's either doing that or he's working at the station, so. You know, you might be looking at, if you wanted to build another 4 bins, you might be looking at another $4,000, so.
Well, take that number and see what we lose in recycling and all that other stuff, and the time picking up trash.
Yeah.
Kind of push the
But
pencil to that.
the main thing you gotta watch too is if the people bringing the trash don't, if they just put loose trash in there, which that's not what these are designed for, then we get trash blowing all over the place.
Understand.
Then we
Now,
get complaints,
I
then,
thought about that. Now, how hard would it be like to put a little rubber flip lid or something on top of there
Oh.
like they, that would prevent a lot of that, wouldn't it?
you're getting too sophisticated.
No,
I
I see one.
know what you're saying,
I
and
see
we've
one
thought
that
about
just has
that.
2 eyelets on each end and a
Right.
rod that goes through it,
Right.
and then the lid's on top of there. I mean, I don't
Right.
know that that's,
But,
I mean-
yeah. I mean, it's only gonna do so much good because if somebody flips the lid off to the back and then people fill it up and then if the lid flips and goes this far, then you've defeated the purpose, you know. Somebody looks at it and says, well, there's this much room and they put in this much trash, you know.
it should certainly help some.
Okay. Why don't you continue to study the issue, and if you think we need to do that,
Okay.
we'll have to look at buying materials. Jonas?
Dale has gotten all new bins very
Right.
well for Hillsborough. I'm not sure what he's doing with the old ones, but it might save you some time and cost if something will work.
Right,
Oh, okay.
right.
Might be worth checking into, yeah.
Thank you.
I know the city of Marion has some old ones too, but their old ones, you look inside there and if you drop something in it, it's gonna go all the way through. You know, but no, I will check with him and see if he's got anything that's,
Molded in and
yeah.
you're good to
Yeah.
go.
So
That's
even if they're
feasible.
inside, you're going to do a little repair or something,
Right,
might save a whole bunch of money.
right.
Okay, very good.
Is there any type of fencing around the area with the white bins?
No. No,
That might
not
help
at this
contain
time.
blowing trash without having to,
Yeah, well, the fencing would probably come later on in the project if that's gonna happen, but at this time, I don't see
okay.
where that would be feasible, you know. I mean, I'm all for trying to figure out how to keep the people from dumping their trash. We go through the trash, and if I find a name, I send them a letter.
What would happen if you put a sign out there that just said they were being watched on camera?
Like the paper, you gotta read the signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta read the signs.
Yeah, but you might not get this.
Okay, we're gonna move forward. Thank you, Bud.
Yeah.
Susan?
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
I wanted to give you an update about where we are on the tax sale, and then I wanted to bring up an issue to see to get your approval on if you're okay with. I received the certificates of title from Hannaford's, and there were about 51 that I received, and I think you probably got a bill in this last month for those. We had originally started out with 95. I sent letters out, and we're down to 51 now that we could go forward on. And the oldest taxes were from 2013. During the time when I was sending out letters, I came over to the treasurer's office and just asked them to give me the next group that they thought that could qualify for this sale, but their taxes weren't so old, and it went from 2015 to current. And there's about 68 properties, and I went ahead and sent letters out on them, and so that will probably be whittled down. But before I ordered the title work, I wanted to talk to you because I know the last title bill was kind of large, and I didn't know if you wanted me to go ahead and proceed on these as well and make them part of the one tax sale, or if you wanted to hold off and do it at another time. They do qualify, and I have received, I probably at my office got about 20 phone calls from out of the 68 that we sent letters on. So it's up to you. I'd be happy to do it, but before I commit you to paying that much money, I want to know that that's okay.
Personally, I see no reason why not. I mean,
Okay.
I know you said it's large, but it's gonna be large today, it's gonna be large next time.
True, and it feels like if we did this, we, kind of got some of the more recent taxes, then you're gonna really clean up, and hopefully it will be smaller in
Yes,
the future.
yes. I
But
think
you did
it's-
say you got quite a few responses
I
from
did-
the ones that
did.
aren't quite as delinquent as the others.
Yes. A lot of people calling and saying, I'll be in and pay next week. Well,
I mean, I'd rather that than pay security first.
Oh, well, and I understand, and the treasurer's office does a really good job of when somebody comes in and pays, notifying security first so that they don't go forward with any title work. But I just wanted to make sure it was okay before I did that. So you're okay with that?
I'm personally okay.
You're
with it.
okay, are you?
Well, I'm still pondering that.
Okay.
It means that you did get a pretty good response
Uh-huh.
from that.
I would say this, it feels like when we let them get too delinquent, that the sooner that we can act after we send out the letter and get it started, I think it would pay in the long run, because people will know that you're not gonna just go through another round again.
So are you talking about just sending the letters out or going ahead with the title work?
Go ahead with the title work, that's what I'm talking about, because I've sent the letters out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because, that's, if all of a sudden you do we get another $10,000 worth of title work and then they show up, we're out.
No.
But I also know that that's probably a drop in the bucket compared to what the delinquent taxes are on
Sure,
those properties.
sure.
And I would say there's there's a couple of properties that probably some cities would like to get under control on
Yeah.
in this list. Yeah,
Well,
Yeah, I'm for it.
I wouldn't stand in the way of doing it then.
okay,
You go ahead.
thank you very
So
much.
consensus is move
Yeah.
forward.
Okay,
Move
thank you,
forward.
I appreciate
Do
that.
it.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope, I will, when we get closer, I'll let you know how many are in the actual lawsuit when we file, so you're aware, and I'll keep you up to date, so. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, it's not quite 10:15, but Mr. Goebel is with us, so I think we'll go ahead and move forward then with the commission discussion on the county engineer position. Where we're gonna include Brad. Are we gonna call him?
We can call him if you want to, if you need him for anything. So he just texted me, he said he's by the phone.
Do we need?
So did you want to?
Include?
Yeah. So you want an executive session?
Would
then?
we need an executive session, yeah?
Okay.
And then I have another issue I wanted to ask him too, and I don't know that it
Well,
belongs
you-
to be in
Yeah,
executive
separate.
session.
Okay, but, so I would just keep him on the phone, and then when you come out, then,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we need a lot of time. Okay, I'll move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss personnel matters, non-elected personnel, item 1, in order to discuss county engineer contract pursuant to KSA 75-431-9B with the commission, Bryce Goebel and Brad Chance by phone until, let's say, 10:25.
It's gonna take me a couple minutes to get the
Okay.
phone set up. and
Well,
get
let's
him
just
on
say
the-
15 minutes then.
Okay.
That would be, basically be 10:30. And we'll resume back into open session.
Okay, so that's the motion.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye.
Doesn't matter. I'm not chair specific.
Oh, okay. Chair specific. I don't know. You know, we're gonna get off on our water in this.
We still have that.
I think
I say
that's,
Randy got your joke.
Make sure you push that on.
Okay, out of executive session, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to ratify the employment agreement for Marion County engineer made and entered into on the 3rd day of June 2019 in between Marion County, Kansas, and Bryce Goebel, employee as a licensed professional engineer for the state of Kansas for a 1-year term commencing June 3rd, today's date, through May 31 of 2020.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. All right. We do have another executive session item and one in open session.
I think mine's in open session.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and take the open session item.
Are you there, Brad?
I am.
Okay. So what I wanted to talk about with the commission was I just have a question for the commission. And that is, I had put in a core request to planning and zoning a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, back in May, the 18th and 19th, and asked for some documents. And I received some of them, and some of them were denied under the scope that they are protected and not subject to disclosure. And so therefore my record request was denied. So as a commissioner, I am asking the board to allow me the right to request those records and receive them, similar to what we did to Mr. Dawkey the other week, giving him permission to talk to Mr. Bolton and so on. And I'm asking the board to support me to get those records as a commissioner rather than just as a person. I had spoke to Brad about this, and this is the first. We can do it 2 different ways. You can just go ahead and authorize me to go get those records as a commissioner rather than an individual. Or we can have those records disclosed here in the commission, which will be Brad's decision, and they can provide these records to us in the commission, and it's going to be quite a few, and I'm going to read every single one of them 3 times, and everybody can sit here and watch me do it. I don't care. In executive session, that's fine. But I would just like to have the records, and I'm asking the commission to have instruct planning and zoning to recognize me as a commissioner to receive these records.
And what was Brad's recommendation on that? Brad?
Part of that was cutting in and out, I guess, based on how the phone is set up, but I'll just kind of repeat what the question, when Diane asked about it, what my response was. I indicated that based upon the response that was provided from planning and zoning, those portions that were not provided to her were done in such a fashion as when she made that request, it was as a citizen, not as a commission. And rightfully so, all of you can do that as well, but you do that as any other citizen in those circumstances. So the response that was provided would have been to protect the privilege on the things denied to her in her capacity just as a citizen of Marion County. If, however, she wishes to have those as part of the commission and request them as a commissioner with the endorsement of the remainder of the commission to be viewed, or typically what we would say is that the commission is requesting them. It is your privilege, so therefore there's not a problem with you seeing them collectively. We would simply do that and present them to you in a lawfully convened meeting in an executive session so that they can be reviewed by any one or all of you as you see fit. But the ability to do it does exist. It just needs to be done under the auspices of the title of the position as a member of the governing entity, in this case the county commission. So I think what her request is, and I only heard pieces of it, is to be allowed to look at those, and that would then require a commission endorsement saying, yes, we would like to have those provided. And then if we're going to do it in the cleanest fashion in terms of the commission itself, it would be in the course of a meeting in an executive session. And I hope that you guys can hear everything I'm saying.
Right.
When I was listening, it was kind of cutting out on the other side.
Okay.
Brad?
Yeah.
Is this same as personnel stuff or anything like that, where just commission has to be convened to...
If it's the request that Diane disclosed to me, not necessarily personnel, although it can, because it can be a little of both. Right now, I think the request, she was looking to review like certain billing statements. Those come from an independent contractor similar to myself, but there's the attorney-client privilege that is asserted in that instance. And that, you guys hold for the county as its elected body. Those can then be fully and completely reviewed and disclosed to the commission, but because it is privileged and you don't wish to waive that, you would review those in executive session only on the ones that are not open. I mean, you can review the open ones too, but my point is those that she's not been allowed to receive thus far can be received. They just need to be received in that context by the commission in your capacity as commissioners. Excuse me. If it gets into questions about personnel, in other words, if personnel participated in conferences in some way, then yes, also you could go in under that particular exception in executive session as well. But in either case, the full disclosure of the billing statement can be made. It's just a matter of doing it in the context of the commission request, not as an individual citizen. And that applies to any of the three of you.
I'm sort of lost. Is this stuff that the public can't see?
Right. It's no different than if I write a confidential memorandum that is attorney-client privilege in terms of work product, specifically an opinion on pending litigation, similar to what we're going to go in for here in a little bit, on something where we're discussing matters of litigation, or that is an attorney-client type of an opinion that is privileged and by its very nature, then that is something the public cannot see, and that's the reason the response was provided as it was, I'm sure, on a portion of what was requested. If a billing statement has elements to it that get into an opinion of the attorney to his client, then that's privileged. If it's just merely, I was on the phone with someone for 0.3 of an hour, those kinds of things, just as a generic example, those are not going to be closed because they don't attach a privilege to them, because it's not something where it's attorney work product or confidential information being disclosed, or an opinion of your legal counsel that you're paying for that can and should remain private in this context.
In your opinion, how should this be handled from a lawyer's opinion?
If the commissioner wishes to see it, I always advocate that obviously for the three of you to effectively do your job, you have to have full and complete information on any issues related to Marion County. And so I always advocate that it be allowed to be seen, but it needs to be done in a certain manner. And that means that it's a privileged form of communication and therefore is delivered to the commission at the request of the commission, or if one of the commissioners requested it's done so because the commission as a whole has authorized that, which I think is what she's asking. And then the information is allowed to be viewed, obviously, by the three of you or commissioners. But it's done, again, not in a public sense, because if we disclose it in an open meeting, obviously it's completely public instantly and available to anyone at that time. So you waive your privilege. So the only way to maintain it on those portions of what's being requested that are truly privileged is to do so in an executive session and allow you to review them there.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Do you have any other questions for Brad
no.
on that subject?
Only, I'm referring to what you said, Diane. If this is privileged information for the commission, then the commission ought to be here together and see it.
That's fine.
You know, what you referenced the other day about me going to the engineer, that's what you said just a second ago?
Well,
Talk
you're
to
gonna
you.
you're gonna be discussing, well, and then, see, I don't know exactly what I'm gonna get, you know, I
Yeah,
don't know what my
right.
response is gonna be.
Right.
So I don't know yet, so
Right.
that's why I say I'm asking for
Right.
information.
Yeah.
So it could be either way, it could be a waste of your time, it could
No,
not be.
well, it could be. I'm
But-
not gonna
yeah,
say
I don't
that.
know. But anyway, yeah. that's all
I'm just
say.
saying that the only difference there is I have no permission to go anywhere with anything that I do there, just to try to get a plan together. That's all I'm trying to do with that. But if it's privileged information, to me, we should be in executive session, just like we normally are.
And I have no problem with that, Randy. you know.
And take care of it, and we'll just line some time up to do whatever. Yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
that's fine, so then you're actually saying that I can go ahead and request the information, and then it'll be provided by
I
the
think,
executive session?
in my opinion, the commission have to request the way
Well,
that's
well, okay, that's
The
fine.
commission would be requesting the information.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't have a problem with that.
okay. All right, that's all I wanted to know, thank you.
Okay?
And it would be, and have to line up executive session here and on our schedule.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Brad.
You bet.
Okay, so then we have a item to discuss pending litigation in executive session. So I'll move that we recess in executive session in order to discuss item number 2, consultation with our attorney-client privilege in order to discuss pending litigation pursuant to KSA 75-4319B with the commission and Brad Jans until, how long do you think you need, Brad?
I really think this is probably just 5 minutes. I want to make sure you're apprised of everything that's going on, and if you have any questions, that we can do that. If you feel like, 5 never gets us enough,
Okay, we'll
then
do
it's
10.
certainly fine.
We'll do 10 minutes until 11:50.
10:50.
Commissioner, can I just ask a procedural question with Brad on the phone? When the commission goes into a confidential session such as this, are each of the commissioners bound to that confidentiality of anything discussed then?
Right.
No.
No.
Brad, what would be your interpretation?
Brad, we have a yes and a no out from the audience, so you're our decision maker here.
I'm sorry, I hear about every 10th word, so
Okay.
I haven't debated.
Are we bound to confidentiality from the execuve session? Items discussed in the executive session.
I will give you my preferential answer, which is yes. But legally, can commissioners come out of an executive session and disclose information contained in it? They can. Do I strongly advise against it as your legal counsel, because the potential for certain liability, both as to the county and in very rare instances, or some instances these days, as to individual commissioners, your indemnity can be at risk, it is. So I always give the answer that anything in executive session remains there. But the straightforward answer in terms of elected officials statutorily is if they walked out of there, do they have what we would call a gag order? No, they really don't. But they have a privilege and it's protected, and I always advise them to maintain it because of the liability potential that exists. There's a reason that we use executive session for these things, because quite frankly, we always err on the side of transparency if we possibly can. There's a greater good that's preserved with the executive session potential, so that we're not disclosing information that can somehow come back to be adversely impacting the county, the governmental entity. So,
Does that go to, keep it
long
going, does that go to personnel then too? I mean, if it's personnel?
I'm
and
sorry?
If you talk about personnel decisions
Well,
in here?
Again, if you do, and you violate someone's privacy, the liability exists, and that's a perfect point.
Right.
If you go into executive session for the right reason, which is to protect the privacy of those being discussed, who have an expectation of that privacy as an employee of the county, and then we come out of there and blatantly violate that, do they have a cause of action against the county? They absolutely do. And so as elected officials, with the duty that's bestowed upon you when you take your oath and take that seat after you've been properly elected, basically you're fighting the hand that has elected you, so to speak.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay. We have a motion to go recess into executive session.
Yeah, and the motion said until 10:50. Are you still good with that?
Well, we better go, can all change that motion until 11:55?
10:55. 10:55?
Or 10:55.
Okay.
It's getting close to noon.
I'm gonna second that. I'm gonna second that for 10:55.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, Ken. All the last meetings I've been to, it should be about 11:55.
By the time
You guys
we're
are
done,
speeding
might be.
along.
Thank you, Brad.
You bet.
Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. That was the final agenda item, so any public input? Now's your chance.
I don't think.
Anyone?
Tonight's the meeting.
What's that?
Tonight's the,
Tonight's the meeting,
Yeah.
big night.
there's public comment.
And I have a council meeting.
Any other public
I
comments
just have one
tomorrow?
question. I just was gonna ask,
You have a
is
council
there gonna
meeting?
be an adjustment in pay for like Jesse and, you know, that kind of stuff? Is his pay?
That's still being
That's still
addressed.
okay, that's what I was just curious.
Okay. It's your last chance for public comment, so anyone that has any public comment? Final chance. Okay.
I think everybody's looking at you guys.
If not, I'm gonna move we adjourn.
Second. You made the motion.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You know my mind.
Okay. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
See so many people out here in the crowd that you think somebody has public comment.
I can do this in writing if you want, but under the Open Records Act, we're requesting a copy of the county engineer contract.
Yeah, could you please fill out the form?
Is there a form on your website?